Hi guys, welcome back to Paynetrain Gaming. Today it is our first official podcast. We just played Batman VR again with Gareth and myself are more or less just going to really talk about both our experiences with the VR, and we're just going to nod at Oculus just to kind of compare them both really. So Gareth, you had your first VR, your proper VR experience.
VR.
Yeah, I mean we had a small go of it of Oculus in college itself really, but go on, tell the people what you thought.
I thought it was incredibly impressive, very immersive. The world felt very 3D. The opening scene, I hope I don't spoil too much, but the opening scene where you relive, of course, as every Batman game and film must relive, is the opening is when his parents get killed. It felt very immersive.
That's not really spoiling it, by the way. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. But when you're in this scene, like, I was blown away because your camera is obviously you're down lower, so you see your mother leaning in trying to reassure you, and you can see Joe Chill in the background kind of advancing, and after he shoots both of your parents and he leans in very close, I'm not gonna lie, it was quite creepy. Like I kind of recoiled a little bit. It felt that real. Like, obviously you could see, and the graphics were very good, but you still knew they were a game, but it really felt like he was up in your face, not like with a television. Even when you see them and you don't usually recoil, but that immediately set the tone and it didn't let up from there. So I thought it was very impressive.
And you like, with him being right up in your face and all, you just wanted to hit him, didn't you?
Yeah, you get that, like, with a lot of these games, you think you're Batman, you should be able to fight back. And obviously it's not quite there yet. But I definitely think if you get the opportunity, when it gets to the point and you get the opportunity to be able to fight back, that it'll feel incredible, because you will have such a great sense of perspective and depth, and they get right in your face and you feel like you want to fight back, but you know you can't.
So Rocksteady basically made the PlayStation VR experience before, I think during Arkham Knight, because there is a thing in Arkham Knight where you uncover, like, you're walking around this, I think it's penthouse or something, and you uncover a blackboard that shows off the various scenes that we just saw there.
Yeah. Like
Joker toxin, your partner dead, Killer Croc, which was fun for you, by the way, wasn't it?
I know, yeah. The Killer Croc was... I'm very bad with jump scares in general. Even non-VR, and I knew Killer Croc was coming up as soon as they said we were going to the sewer. I won't spoil anything for anyone in case they want to experience it themselves, but I will just say this: it was, it's coming, and it really made me recoil. Like, I genuinely had a start, like, at one point there where I was, I couldn't believe he got right up my face. He was incredibly detailed. I was properly freaked out by it. It is, Killer Croc was probably the pinnacle. Even if I didn't quite enjoy it, so to speak, it was still a great moment.
Yes, and I'm going back there then to Rocksteady anyway. They've said that, like, Arkham Knight was going to be their last Batman game, but after playing this, would you encourage them to jump back on and make a VR game?
I would hope so. Because as great as this was, you're obviously limited. Obviously, you can interact. You can use the batarangs and the grappling hook and things like that. But to be actually able to fight, even if it's just quick time events to start off with, where you just kind of have to look where you need to punch, or just aim the two sticks that you're provided with, the two wands. I definitely think there would be a huge. I won't say demand because I don't necessarily know, but I definitely think there would be an interest in it, and if it's done right, it would definitely create a huge demand. And I definitely think if anyone to do it, they're the ones who've developed Batman, but I definitely think they should come back and take another look at fleshing this out more.
Yeah, because the mechanics are there. They just really, as you said, they need to be expanded a bit more. They need to be looked at a bit more in terms of detail and all. I mean, I feel that punches are easy enough to do because you've got the wands. You just got to punch in front of you.
Exactly.
Kicks, though, can be, like, let's say your left leg could be tethered to the buttons on your left controller, and your right leg could be tethered to the controls on your on the right controller. But in terms of, like, all these backflips and mad flips and stuff that Batman can do, that's the only thing that would be, like, there would be an issue. And I'd imagine if that did happen, people would get very nauseous.
They would, and I don't know if I honestly don't think they could do that unless they did. I'm even thinking. It brings me to mind in Skyrim when they had kill animations, and in third person, if you use the sword, you could see your character do a full spin around and decapitate the enemy. If you were in first person, your camera stayed looking at them and you just saw your sword kind of flash across the screen. So even though in third person you did the full rotation around, in first person you never rotated around, because obviously that would have caused a lot of problems as well, and these problems would be made worse in VR. So I think it could be possible that they could do the flips, and instead of your camera doing a full rotation around, it kind of just moves around. So say you punch a bad guy in the gut and he doubles over in pain, and then you roll over him on his back, and then you're facing. So instead of your camera doing a full 360 as you roll over him, instead just have the camera move. I'm gesturing with my hands right now, and that's no good to the people listening. But imagine the camera moving from your point, moving in an arc, not the full 360, but in a smooth motion to where you're just now behind him.
So moving from first person, coming out and seeing Batman's model and his model, and going around them, like you're able to like look around as he does the thing.
They could do that, kind of do a Matrix where it slows down. You're able to see Batman almost kind of mid-animation and kind of freeze, and it slow down. You can have a look around. They don't. I don't know how easy that would be to do. I do know that the rest of the fight, they could just scale the combat back. Obviously the combat is a big part of it, and everyone loves seeing Batman taking on hordes of bad guys and henchmen and all his acrobatic moves, and you don't want to lose that. But I definitely think they can do it. I mean, these guys are very experienced game developers. They're definitely not going to back down from a challenge of, if I can't see the combat being a reason that they don't want to, that they wouldn't do it, because if they want to do it and they think the combat is an obstacle or a challenge, I definitely think they'll have the tools to overcome it, whatever way they choose to overcome it.
And I'd imagine if people had a problem with the camera pulling out or anything else like that, they could add an option to just stop it and completely.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you were to do any mad flips or anything, the screen could just like. As you said in Skyrim, you just see your thing flash or sword flash across the screen. You would just be still there looking around and all, but your man would just be like getting his ass kicked out of it.
Yeah.
And then you'd be pretty much going, oh well, I kicked his ass.
Exactly.
And walk off. So Batman VR is the only sort of game you've played right now here with me.
Yeah.
I do have other games for you to try out. We might do a podcast on them depending on like his how he thinks of them and all, if he can maybe add to it all. But if you were to play a game that you've played before in VR, what would you think would be the one to go for? And please don't say Skyrim, because
no, not Skyrim.
Skyrim's been done on the Oculus and PC mod.
Yeah,
it wasn't as great as people thought it was going to be.
No. I'm even trying to think what would be very impressive. But obviously going back, it becomes first person, so I think sticking within the first person genre. I wouldn't suggest Skyrim or Fallout. As impressive as they would be, I don't feel like it would be a massive step forward. I know that sounds quite strange. You think VR, of course it's a massive step forward. I would like to try I actually think Halo 5. And I think Halo 5 mostly because what that included was there was a lot more. Your character could do a lot more. Your character could sprint. You could do boost through walls to shatter some of them. You could mount up on places. So like say you do your jump. If you can just about reach the ledge, your character would grab on and pull themselves up. And I definitely think in VR that would feel. I definitely think that would feel better. Can't think quite have a good word to describe it, but to be able to get up like that, you feel a real sense of motion. And I just think in general, first person shooters, if they could get even where as you look around your gun doesn't move, so if you shoot and you're looking to the right, you still shoot in a straight line, you just have no idea where your reticule is, so you have no idea where you're shooting. And then when you aim down sights, it opens up the full or even blurs around the edges as you're looking down the scope.
There is actually a shooter game that I have called Pixel Gear, and you have a pistol, a sniper rifle, a grenade gun and a machine gun. You could probably have a quick go at that actually before you head back in, because the sniper rifle and that, the scope is magnified from what you are looking at, so it magnifies it that way. But I feel in that game the scope isn't great. I mean, you'll see yourself if you can unlock it, but like, I mean, the scope itself isn't a massive feature in terms of being able to snipe, but the Halo though, it's an interesting game that you say and all as well, but compared to holding the wands, would you prefer to hold the wands as they were with that game, or let's say in a first-person shooter, would you prefer to have a gun type prop, let's say, to pop them in?
The gun type prop would definitely be interesting. I imagine, to be honest, I actually don't know. Obviously I don't know, but I wouldn't even say that it would be necessarily better just because it feels like a gun, because obviously you can swap weapons and you don't want your character to be holding a pistol and you still have the same, gun prop in your hand, and it wouldn't be, effective or feasible to provide props for every type of gun. So, and you'd have to swap them out, and that would bring up various issues. I think the ones are still good in that sense. Again, with a lot of this, I think we have to see what the developers. It's going to be a process. It's going to be like anything. It's going to take some time to get to a stage where maybe some people, when they're thinking VR, they're thinking, almost like they don't need headsets or anything. They just look around, the whole world is as the game says it is. But I definitely think that type of thing will be interesting with the props. But I think the wands are pretty good as it is at the minute. The walking might be a problem as well in these things like the first person shooters. Like that was in Batman, it was fine because you were just kind of moving from spot to spot, interacting with things. But those types of games, or even what other ones could I think of? Any racing game I think might be very interesting as well. Like any Need for Speeds.
I think there was a Drive Club demo that I tried. Inside the car looked very nice to look around and all, but on the outside of it looked very blurry, and the car was very hard to control, or else I was just shit at it. One or the other really. But the just outside the car felt very blurry. So again, it's early for this to have any major games. Like the first major game, I haven't done a proper research on this, but I think the first major game really to come out for VR is Resident Evil. And as long as we all know Resident Evil games can be, I don't see people having that headset on for that amount of time to go through. Obviously people are probably going to have it for about an hour and then maybe give themselves a 15-minute break, which is probably the best thing really, because you probably even seen it yourself when you came back in, you almost fell over a few times, lost your balance and all. And like if you watch the previous videos on my channel playing Job Simulator, you get so immersed in the world, like you start throwing things and all, and sometimes I'd hit the fridge, the mini fridge that's there, or like you'd end up hitting like one of the guys who played this the first day I got it. We were over here and one of the guys was just on the bed on his phone, the other lad was having a go to VR, and he walks straight over on top of the bed and falls on him. So like, I mean, there's these things that like the first person shooter game I think is coming out. It's called Farpoint. I think it's the first one anyway. It's definitely coming out soon enough anyway. That looks very interesting, but that looks like, as you were saying there about moving, the PlayStation Move did have a joystick part that came out years ago when they first originally came out. They might bring that back in terms of for the moving, but if so, right now, if people don't have the Move controllers, they could probably just do something with the actual PlayStation controller. The DualShock controllers. I
think they could, because I still feel like a lot of people, I mean, I don't think, as far as I would imagine, nobody really looks at the controller when they're playing. At this stage, a lot of people just have it by touch. And it wouldn't even take that long to get, if you somehow became disorientated, you could just, of course, just pause it and then just, reorientate yourself. So I think it's possible that they still use the controllers for things like that. And in that sense, I think they wouldn't be pushing VR to its fullest, because you literally just switch it over to the headset, then you're not really doing anything different other than the camera being on a swivel, and it still feels very immersive. Though I'd reiterate that point, is that even if I ever would say something like that, like it wouldn't push VR to its limit, everything still feels very impressive and very 3D and very lifelike when you're in it. So even if you're using the controller and it takes you out a little bit, it's still a cut above just watching it on the screen.
So comparing the PlayStation VR then to the Oculus, I mean, as we said, I had a small go the Oculus. And what was that sort of experience for you? What did we play? We played a horror game, didn't we?
There was a horror game, yeah. We didn't have a go. We had a look at some of sort of interactive trailers for Sinister, I think.
Yeah.
Or it was one of the Sinisters, maybe 2 or 3, whichever. I didn't really watch them that much. We were watching somebody else watch them and have a look around. I played. Now I can't remember the name of it. But it was a very simple one. Like that was the thing with the Oculus is that a lot of the games weren't big games coming out with it. They were kind of coming from kind of small to medium sized companies or indie developers or things like that. Whereas this is developed by Sony for their own console, very specific. This is definitely better than the Oculus. But to be fair, I think the Oculus can still take, like, it's not like the Oculus we say it's dead and buried now and other stuff has moved on. It can reach this level easily. It's just I haven't even played one of any of the new or used any of the newer ones of it. So I would say the PlayStation VR is above it, and the Oculus was okay. I definitely prefer, even leaving aside the VR, even taking into account some practicalities, the way that the headset is mounted for the PlayStation VR is a lot better. It sits comfortably on my head. Now I wear glasses, and when I wore the Oculus, either I had to take them off, and because I was so short-sighted, it still caused problems with focus. Well, not necessarily with focus, but I obviously couldn't focus. I couldn't see things, even though it was only a couple of centimeters from my eyes, really. But with the PlayStation one, I could sit down my head, no problem whatsoever. Other than the earphones maybe falling out every so often. It was very good. The wires weren't all over the place. It wasn't putting pressure on the back of my head. It didn't feel like it was maybe pushing in on my glasses or anything like that. So in that sense, I think that the PlayStation PlayStation VR has the edge as well. But yeah, so if I had to say compare them, it's there's a bit of a gap between them at the minute. Although having said that, I haven't seen any of the latest Oculus or tried any of that or see if they've even changed the way they mount them on your head.
Yeah, no, the only one that we had a go of was an early developer's kit, and as far as I remember, that didn't even have the controllers actually when we had a go of it. Now I know the newer one does have the controllers, but speaking not from personal experience, just from watching people, the HTC Vive, which is the other virtual reality headset that's out right now, is probably the best one in terms of, it's not just, you see, the thing with the Oculus and the VR is they have to have a camera in front of them, and you even saw there that when you turned around as Batman with the headset, when you had the light balls in front of you, and when they disappeared from the camera's sight, your hands disappeared. So you wouldn't be able to turn around, even if you had something like, if you dropped the key and you weren't able to actually bend over and pick that up. It doesn't really have that technology. It would just like desynthesize and then synthesize back in the safe. And the HTC Vive though, since you have one camera in one corner that you're in the room, another camera in the other corner of the room, it maps out the entire room you're in, and you say this is the amount, you draw your play space before you hit anything, and it will come up with a blue barrier before you're about to hit something. That seems like a much better technology.
It does.
And you're able to get down on the floor, pick stuff up, you're able to get on your knees and get on your hands and knees and look at stuff up close that's on the ground and all. So I don't know if that's going to be maybe in the future with Oculus and PlayStation, but that's the type of technology they all need to kind of incorporate. I mean, HTC Vive really have it nailed down with that type of like technology. But in terms of needing a camera in the front of you, it's just going to cause problems with both Oculus and PlayStation in terms of tracking. And even with tracking, you even saw there that when you were trying to press the screen, your hand would either move left or right or disappear and stuff like that. Again, with the camera, it needs to be smack bang looking at the light balls and the lights that are on the headset, or else it's going to go off wonky altogether.
Definitely, yeah. So I would like to see that from the PlayStation, that if they could look into it, as if Sony would be listening. But I would hope that they would. I would imagine that they are considering such things. I also I haven't used the HTC one. But definitely, that sounds like a much better system. Simply from just keeping you from walking into things. If as you say, there's the blue barrier, it warns you when you're about to walk into something. It can track you. That was one of my only things, was that I had one that slight issue with the start where I couldn't quite get the press the button on screen, I was having difficulties because Killer Croc had popped up in front of me and I needed to swap characters. I couldn't, and I was panicking a little bit. But yeah, that I as I said, I haven't used it, but I would like to try that as well. That's what I think with VR that I want to do. As difficult as it may be, because not all of them are cheap and I may not have access to all of them, I would like to try all of them and kind of see. Obviously you can't just go to them and then kind of hope to yourself like, oh well, I hope they mix and match the best components from all of them to make just one super headset or something. But I would hope that if there's some very clear components that just make it easier to use, that most other VR headsets would take advantage of that and incorporate them.
Steal.
Steal, exactly.
Thanks, Jack. Anyway, yeah, so like just real quickly, what would you rate it out? What would you rate that experience out of 10?
That was definitely a 9 out of 10. Like the only reason I don't do 10 out of 10 is because then you feel like it's perfection. You feel I don't feel like it was done, properly. Then if there's always room to improve it, that's a good thing. But definitely 9 out of 10. Like I said, like it hooked me from the minute. I've seen all the Batman movies. I've seen so many of the cartoons, played the games. I'm sick to death of reliving his parents' death. But I was not like that. Brought me back in straight away. I could go back and do that again multiple times, because even just to see your mother lean in and trying to comfort you, and you can kind of see your father just slightly standing off you, and then you can see the shadow kind of emerging in the alley. It was amazing. It's exactly as you would imagine. It puts you right in that situation, and just to see even your mother's hands come out when you're just slightly later stage of the game, you're in the Batcave and you can kind of see the models and the animations for the various characters in his rogues gallery and his allies and whatnot, and you can see his mother and you can kind of see she puts out her arms sort of hugging that you like I've been, as I keep making the point, it really feels in depth. But yeah, for me, that's why it's 9 out of 10. The fact that it managed to kind of take away the cynicism I have about always having to see or experience the death scene or the making of Bruce Wayne, I really enjoyed that scene again. And for me, that says a lot about how good this was, and that's why I would put that a solid 9 out of 10. I can understand people may be hesitant because people would be worried that VR might just be a fad. And it'd be an expensive fad if it was the case, but I don't think it is, because I think there's enough behind it right now. And when we can see something like this, which is, that's only out not even a week at this stage, and that's like one of its launch titles effectively is the Batman Arkham, this game here that we were playing. Like for me, that says a lot about where it can go. Like I think even by Christmas we will be seeing some very, very interactive and very intuitive games. Yeah,
actually, funny you mentioned Christmas. There was a game that was meant to be out. Do you like Star Trek, Gareth?
It would go Star Wars then Star Trek, but I still like Star Trek.
There was actually meant to be a VR experience where it was an online game. Mm-hmm. You and about 5 other people, either friends or randomers, were on the Star Trek Enterprise, and
you assumed various roles.
One person was the commander or captain, the other was the engineer, other was weapons, so basically, like, apparently that game was meant to be, I don't think it was meant to I think there is meant to be an ending to it, mm-hmm. but you can choose like different paths and stuff. You come across different ships, you can talk to them, you can beam down to planets. I don't think the planets would be a proper walk across now. I haven't really read into more detail, but that was one thing I was looking forward to. Now unfortunately it's been delayed till next year, which is the bad thing. But in terms of future games that I'm looking forward to getting, mm-hmm. one would be Robinson's The Journey, and that's basically you crash land on a planet with an AI type thing from Destiny, like a floating yoke. And
kind of like it's a Robinson Crusoe where you're like, you're stranded on the island, stranded on the planet. So
exactly, and it's full of dinosaurs.
Oh, nice.
So there also is this Farpoint, which I brought up earlier. It's a shooter. It's an alien planet again. You crash land, and more or less trying to, I think it's look for survivors, try and survive, and I think get the hell out of there as well. And of course, Resident Evil coming out. There is a good few VR games on the horizon as well, but can't think of them right now. My brain has basically just gone elsewhere completely altogether. But guys, there is loads of VR's experiences meant to be coming out. We are going to keep going with them here. I want to thank Gareth for coming on today. Do you have any final say or anything?
I will say that if people can get it, if they can't get it themselves, if they can get to their friends and experience it, I definitely think you need to experience it at least once. I can describe it as much as I want, but even you, Michael, when you were saying it to me, I was asking you, well, what is it like? And you said you have to experience it for yourself. This is the case. You need to go and experience it yourself. Even if you don't think you're going to get it, I would say just experience it, because it is very amazing. Very much amazing. Very much amazing, yeah.
Very much amazing. Anyway, yes. Okay, guys. That's it for my paynetrain Gaming's first podcast on the PlayStation VR and the Batman experience. Gareth's gonna have a go one more experience before he goes to bed, because as he said, he wants to have a go of some shooters like Halo. And we do have that pixel gear here, as again there is videos on this channel about pixel gear, so you can have a look at it yourselves. But again, Gareth, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. We'll hope to see you back again later on.
Hope to be back, yep.
Maybe to even have a go at that Star Trek game, And as funny you mentioned Star Wars, actually there is a Star Wars Rogue One X-Wing experience that they're going to be bringing out as well.
I think
now actually but before we go, to mention on that, now you definitely have to be sitting for those types of games. If you're in a cockpit, you have to be sitting. I tried Eve Valkyrie online on the demo disc, and I was stupidly standing for that one, and it made me very, very nauseous. I couldn't finish it, but going back into it, and once I was sitting down, I had very much hype, and I wanted to blow the shit out of everyone basically. Right, guys, we're going to end it here. Join us back for more VR stuff, more podcasts in the future. Gareth will be back with his amazing self for more games in the future as well. Hopefully we'll try and get him to go on Job Simulator, because I'd say he'd love that, because he works in a retail experience like myself, and you all saw how funny that was. Anyway, yes guys, thank you so much for watching, and we shall see you all